Hey guys, it's Christina. You are watching or listening to Vox and Guest, and I am joined today by a band I have been waiting a long time to talk to, and everyone in this music community knows very well. Please say hello to the men of Eisige Venen. Woo! Say hi, guys.
How's it going?
Hey there.
There we go. And we have our first repeat guest on the show. Chris is a veteran of Vox and Guest now, having done the anger overdose interview with me not that long ago. So, but Marc and Curtis are popping their Vox and Guest cherry tonight. So we were, I'm very happy to have you guys here. As you can see, I am a fan. I have the shirt. I'm repping it. I've got the merch. And I'm trying to think. You are okay. I'm going to take a guess here, Marc. Is that a Without the Sky shirt?
It sure is.
Okay. Yeah. See, I even speak metal now. I can read the hieroglyphics. And let's see, we've got Chris repping Morning Scars over here. And Curtis, are you just wearing a plain old black shirt?
No. Just solid black. Not representing anybody.
So that's pretty much representing the entirety of the metal community then, just pure black. That's it. So, okay. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves just quickly, and then we'll get to our first question.
I'm Curtis. I'm vocalist of Eisige Venen.
I'm Chris. I try to play bass for Eisige Venen.
I'm Marc, and I play guitar and do the synth for Eisige Venen.
It's good that you're all doing it for the same band, because otherwise this would be a really weird interview if you're like, yes, I play the synth for Journey. I'd be like, okay. Okay, so listen. I don't let people off easy right from the very beginning. I have the hard-hitting journalistic questions. So I want you guys to just, get your game faces on, because this is a really important one. Okay. And I want all of you to answer it. Be thoughtful, be mindful, and dig deep, because the emotions may come springing forth. Are you ready for this? Okay. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
No. Defend your answer, Curtis. Defend it. Why is it not a sandwich?
If it's a sandwich, it'd be a bologna sandwich, but it's a hot dog.
Okay. It is meat twixt two pieces of bread. Is that not in its essence a sandwich?
I mean, in essence, but I mean, you can a little bit of preparation. I'm sure I could come up with some other examples of something similar, but it does not count as, But I mean, a hot dog is basically bologna wadded up in a tube. So
this is true. You should be doing the marketing for Oscar Mayer, because wow, that sounds delicious. Bologna wadded up in a tube. Enjoy it, kids. Yeah. Stadium favorite. Okay, so Curtis is a hard no that a hot dog is not a sandwich. Who is tackling this next?
I think a hot dog is a sandwich.
Ooh. Dissent in the band. Okay, why do you think it is a sandwich?
Because you can have a double hot dog just like you can have a double cheeseburger.
Are you implying a cheeseburger is a sandwich?
A cheeseburger is a sandwich.
Ooh, Marc is doubling down here. Curtis looks aghast. Chris,
I knew a guy. I'm like Chris was trying to say something a second ago. Go ahead, and I'll
let's see what Chris has to say.
Yeah.
Marc, I love you, but it's a hard no.
I worked with a guy that bought, we were all poor, of course, and he bought a massive pack of hot dogs. Okay. And he ate those for weeks, a couple weeks until his next payday. And he made hot dog sandwiches. And you'd split the hot dog in half and then 2 pieces of bread. That's a sandwich. Hot dog and a hot dog bun, that's a hot dog.
Right. So he would actually cut. Okay, he would cut the hot dog into 2 separate halves and put it on 2 pieces of bread.
Probably pan fried.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, Chris, come on, drop knowledge. You had more to say.
That's right. It's all about the orientation, right? A sandwich is horizontal. Hot dog is vertical. No, not the same thing.
What if you just rotated the hot dog 90 degrees?
What if
then it's sideways? Not buying it.
What if a hot dog isn't a sandwich solely because a hot dog is the wiener in the bun? So you have to have the wiener. The wiener's the hot dog, the meat. And then once you put it in the bun, it becomes a hot dog. It doesn't become a hot dog sandwich. So maybe y'all are right. Maybe.
So wait, you're telling me now that a hot dog is a wiener, and these are words I'm saying, apparently, in a very public place. A hot dog is a wiener until it goes into buns. I'm just digging myself into a deeper hole here. So the meat transforms. The meat transforms from a wiener into a hot dog once it hits the bun, and so now you think it might be a sandwich. What is the logic there? I
think it may not be a sandwich.
Oh, okay.
So they might be right.
Oh, okay. You guys have made persuasive arguments. You've gotten Marc to. Oh no. Okay, Marc is doubling back.
It's kind of like his chili soup
or cereal. It's true. Well, okay. That's actually a very good question. I may have to use that for a future episode, whether chili is soup. I will credit you for that one, Marc. Okay, so we have two definitive no. Hot dog is not a sandwich. Marc is on the hot dog fence. Yeah. Okay. You have. I don't even want to get into the whole debate about whether a cheeseburger is a sandwich, because that's a whole other thing. You've raised interesting questions. I kind of feel like we need to end the interview now just to ponder and process this information, but I will soldier on. So, okay. All right. Good to know most of the band is at least amenable to each other's opinions here. So, okay, let's get to the actual stuff now. So you guys, I have said this before, on lives and in other interviews, that because I am not somebody who has listened to much metal until pretty recently, like since March of 2023, pretty much, I've been listening to it. I am new to the genre in the depth and in which I'm listening to it now. And even having listened to a bunch of metal and whatever, there were a number of people who, when I told them that Eisige Venen was coming on Vox and Guest, they were like, oh, I don't know if you can handle their music. It's so intense and, it's really good, but, it might be too much for somebody who's not used to metal. And, and as I said to, I think in the AOD interview, it was kind of like, do you need like a blankie or a lollipop or something to like get you through it and whatever. So like when I sat down, because I had heard a song, and I will mention which one later, and liked it, but then I was like, all right, maybe the rest of the album is really like gonna melt my face off my skull or whatever. So I was prepared for pretty much anything. And I sat down and I was just, first of all, I don't understand what the hell anybody was talking about because, and I want to make clear, it wasn't like anybody was like, oh, you're not going to like them. It was like, they're so good, but they're really intense and you might not be able to handle it, little girl or whatever. But like, I sat down with Ghosts of Yesterday. And as I think at least some of you know, when I prep for this show, I listen to everything that I can find on streaming by the band. And in your case, I had side projects to listen to and other projects to listen to. So I did like a very deep dive on Eisige Venen and offshoots and precursors and whatever. And I have to say, the music is so, it's just fucking cool. Like it really is. I really, I love the way you guys have put together different elements and kind of turned metal on its head a little bit in some ways. And so I want to talk about that a lot, but let's begin with how you all met and the band, because the band is pretty new, right? I mean, this is basically this year's your first recording. It's your first album, 2023. Because I know, Curtis, you and Marc started out together in Balsamon, right? That was your...
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a cool album, by the way, for anybody who I'm in nesting doll question mode. I'm sorry, I will get to something in a second, but like that's a very cool band where I could absolutely see where Eisige Venen was a descendant of it. But I know that's how you guys met, but why don't you get into how you guys got into Balsamon together and then how Chris came into the fold and all of that, and I'll let whoever wants to take that. Or all of you, ideally.
Well, I first met Curtis through Rob, who is the guitarist for Balsamon.
Okay.
So what were we doing? Lost?
Lost, yeah.
Yeah, it was a band called Lost.
Okay.
Rob was
talking many moons ago.
Yeah, this was 96, 97-ish, 98,
Oh,
maybe.
really long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in high school. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize this was like a 20-year relationship that you guys had, but okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a minute. And we all got into Lost together, which I think there's like a 2-song demo somewhere.
Okay, that one I didn't know about. So you stumped me on one, but okay.
It's nothing I would want to find.
And was this was an originals band too, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys started in Lost, and then
if I recall, Rob was living in a duplex next to some old lady, and me and Curtis would go over and, kind of be a little loud and stuff. And, but during all those loud times, and hanging out and stuff, we ended up writing some riffs. We had some stuff we wanted to talk about. And, we ended up writing riffs. Curtis started writing the lyrics to these, specific events that were going on, like the West Memphis 3, stuff like that.
Okay.
So we had these things we wanted to say, so we wrote the riffs, got Curtis doing vocals, and I'll let Curtis take it from here
I was somewhat kind of homeless, just hanging out. Marc had an apartment.
Okay.
I hung out there all the time, and we was always writing goofy music together, doing, just being young and stupid, hanging out a lot. And Rob was always there. We were linked up because of Rob, the guitarist.
Right. Okay.
Phil, I think he may have been putting bikes together at Walmart in my small town I lived in. And he had long hair, and I think he might have been wearing a Slayer shirt. So we got to talking, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm the best drummer in the state," and and
okay.
And we hated his guts. We were mostly we were all teenagers, and this guy was like 30.
Oh, okay. So already a weird dynamic there, like somebody who's like twice your age. That's okay.
But acted half the age. We had problems with him a lot. And so that we would get together and we'd jam, and then things would dissipate, fall apart. We'd try to find different drummers, and we ended up meeting a lot of people. But we were hanging out. There was this big group out of Little Rock, Arkansas, that they had the central hub of all these bands that were linked together. There'd be like 30 or 40 bands out of these 12 or 15 guys.
Oh, wow.
Playing shows everywhere. And we were involved in that, but we didn't exactly have a band. We had parts of bands,
Right. Yeah. And then people who would float in and out. And okay. Okay.
And
at some point, Balsamon actually formed into an entity.
Yeah. We went through a lot of different people, but it was always me and Marc and Rob were the central three, and then we had other guitars come in and out, other drummers come in and out. We had a lady that played a violin for a little bit. Right.
You two were the core with Rob.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And then when did Balsamon officially start, and when did it end?
I think it started in 99 and ended in 2001.
I think so. That might be right.
Okay.
Maybe 98.
Yeah.
Maybe late 98.
So then we're talking 22 years of nothing. Silence. Okay. Wow. See, I wasn't sure when you guys, I didn't know if Balsamon had dissolved or if it had morphed or if, whatever, but that's a long time to, okay. So we'll get to that in a second. So then actually, let's get to it now. So you had, 2 decades basically of not doing anything. Were you, Marc and Curtis, still making music together? Was it just life got in the way and you were focused on other things? Like what happened in the hiatus, and then how did we, become Eisige Venen and bring dear Chris into the picture?
right around the time. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, it wasn't complete silence in the sense of like we weren't doing anything. I know Curtis was in Locust Swarm. I think he had you had another project too at some point.
Yeah, there was a few of them here and there.
Okay.
And then I had a project called Frost Crown that I had done. And then after Balsamon kind of dissipated, me and Rob had a very short-lived band called Hanging in Ruin. I was in Fallen Empire.
Yeah, you had a series of Night Sphere, and you were all over the place.
Yeah, Night Sphere.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so there was like some stuff going on, but I would say around 2014-ish, I got very, for me anyway, I just got fed up with the music world in general and just kind of didn't do anything for years. Didn't try, didn't, so. Okay. Eisige Venen was kind of my comeback project when I started it as a one-man.
Yeah. And that was what, 2020?
2020, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so you had, I think, a couple of demos and a couple of singles maybe, and then you decided to, I guess, bring Curtis back first, because I know, Curtis, you came in a little bit ahead of Chris this year, right? So Marc, what made you decide to go from the one-man band, to bringing in other people again? And Chris, I swear we're getting to you. We really are. We could have let him sleep longer.
Ultimately, what I think every one-man band can relate is that you don't get, when you're by yourself, you lack a sort of critique from the other people.
Right, other perspectives.
If you start going in a wrong direction, there's no one there to stop you if you're by yourself. Plus if everyone likes a song, you get that validation, and as a group, it means a lot. It's not the same when you're by yourself.
I got you. Yeah, I've heard a number of musicians who are the whole show just kind of be like, I have nobody to bounce anything off of. If I have writer's block, there's no one to kind of come in with an idea. There's no other perspective. There's no collaboration. So I imagine, in all the pluses of freedom and total control and, your own timeline and your own vision, the minuses also at some point seem to kind of outweigh it for everybody. So, okay. So at that point you kind of went, all right, I'm back in, but I want other voices here. And so Curtis, I guess you joined in. It was about March or so. No,
it was in the summer.
February.
Okay.
I thought it was in the summer when you first asked me if I wanted to help you out with the one song.
No, it was January.
Oh, okay.
It was probably summer somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
January, because we released it in February.
Yeah. Okay.
It was Death Springs Eternal.
Yeah. And then so Curtis is in, you've got guitar, you've got your keys, your synth, and you've got your vocals. And so at some point you decide you want a bass player, I assume. And Chris obviously plays guitar too, and I know does a lot of programming as well. But so how did Chris, I'm going to turn it to you so you can actually say something. Because the last time I interviewed you, you were the newest person, and I couldn't ask you all that many things either. So I'm going to make sure you get to talk today, even though you're technically the newest person in Eisige Venen too. But how did you hook up with Marc and Curtis?
Okay, so I'm going to say it was back in 2022. I was co-hosting a YouTube channel called Heavy Metal 101 Reviews. Okay. And the host, Dustin, knew Marc and invited him onto the show, and we reviewed one of his songs. Oh shoot, I forget which one it was.
Frigid Emptiness.
Frigid Emptiness. And
okay. Oh. Yeah. Right. Okay, so that song is older than okay, I got you, because that's on Ghosts of Yesterday. So okay, all right. So you reviewed it, loved it.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. And I could hear, like I said with AOD, I could hear what I wanted to do, more at a guitar direction. But, you know, so fast forward, I saw Eisige Venen now had a singer, a dedicated singer. And I was like, I saw the writing on the wall for my band over in Korea. And I was like, well, maybe they need a bass player. So, cause I had to buy all my equipment and stuff for this band out here.
Right.
So, I hit up Marc. I was like, hey, interested in a bass player? And he said, sure. I think he was a little reserved at first because, you know, he didn't know what I could do. I don't really have anything out there to display.
Right.
So he took a chance on me. And
you have a couple things on your YouTube that you've done, right? Originals that you've, but they might not have even been out at the time. But okay, so you were a little bit of a unknown entity, but Marc decided to take a chance on the scrappy young bass player living in Korea. So okay, and that is all still pretty new. I mean, you guys really, the three of you have only been together for a couple of months now, as I understand it, right?
Since March,
yeah. So okay, so I mean, it is astounding to me that that's the case, and you have an album out already, and it's been out for a bit. So, oh my gosh, I have so many questions for you because I really, I guess, and I go through this every time I interview a metal band of any kind. You know, the whole genre, subgenre question of what kind of metal or whatever, and like I like to take stabs at guessing what people would consider themselves to be, but half the time I'm wrong, and the other half of the time people are like, we don't really care what the genre or subgenre is anyway. But I'm thinking you guys would fall mostly into a black metal kind of subgenre, but maybe more atmospheric than your average black metal band, or am I completely wrong?
I think you're getting pretty close. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. Close is as close as I've gotten. So it's, you tell me how you, and I mean, whether you even care about subgenre to begin with, but you know, how would you guys define yourself? Because I think there are definitely things that I hear that by now I'm starting to recognize as being more in line with what I would consider black metal. But you've got all of this synth in there, which I think really, and not just the fact that you have synth, but the way that you use the synth, the brightness of it sometimes, the way you accent sometimes, the fact that it's an emphasis sometimes rather than just something sort of mixed into the back. I think it makes Eisige Venen sound different to me than any of the other metal or black metal, even if that's what we're kind of calling it, that I've heard. So how would you guys define your sound as a band?
I've been just using extreme metal.
I like extreme. Extreme is good. Okay.
I don't want to pigeonhole us into a black metal, you know, because there are a lot of gatekeepers out there. Obviously, we're not playing true cult black metal, you know, where it's, you know, raw and lo-fi and stuff like that. So it's, you know, it's black metal themed for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're going with extreme. We like extreme metal.
I like extreme metal, you know, atmospheric extreme metal.
Okay. Okay. Curtis, you seem to resonate with that description of extreme.
Well, I mean, I would say inspired by, you know, black metal or you know, extreme metal. You know, it's anytime that you have somebody just straight up screaming the whole time. Yeah, well, you're kind of thrown in, you know, something like that. But there's so many sub genres, you know, and you know, it is what it is, you know. We're not looking exactly to be accepted by any one particular group, you know. So if you say, "Oh, well, we're this," no, you're not. You're more. You're something. You know,
it seems so persnickety, the metal community around genre. Like I don't know if there's another overarching genre, as I tend to call it, like metal, that is this bitchy about, you know, I keep hearing the phrase gatekeepers and whatever, and I know there's all this subtext to it, and I never ask about it because, you know, that seems like it would be rife with potential problems to get into as a conversation. But like, I can't really, you know, every time I ask a band, or even just talking to my friends in the metal community now, you know, casually, like, okay, so how do you know which kind of metal you're listening to? Everybody's got a different answer. Everybody has a different definition. Half the people are like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, just we're metal and we make really good music. And I tend to agree with that, because for me, I don't know shit about subgenre. I mean, I know what they're called. I know there's industrial metal and new metal and speed metal and groove metal and black metal and death metal and, you know, deathcore and all this other stuff. If I gun to my head, could I tell you really what any of that is? Absolutely not. So I and it doesn't matter to me in enjoying the music. So I'm with you on that. But Chris, you didn't really seem the last time we talked about this to give much of a crap about specific subgenre either, if I recall correctly.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I explicitly wrote that we are averse to defining our sound by any type of genre. And I did that for a reason, because I think when you do that, you, as Marc said, you pigeonhole yourself. And the gatekeepers for black metal are insufferable assholes. And I try to separate myself from that as much as possible. And I think the over categorization of music is just designed by people who are trying to validate their existence by saying, I came up with this, and it, you know, it gives them something to talk about and gives them purpose in life. So, you know, I think I would define our sound as depressive extreme metal. If I had to go
I like the addition of the depressive. Okay, that's good too. So so I mean, what I'm gathering then is that if a band identifies as X metal, black, death, industrial, whatever, there are people out there who are going to go, well, no, you're not really, because you're doing this, this, and this, or you're not doing that, that, and that. Yeah, that sounds like a massive pain in the ass to me, because it stifles creativity. And what I love about every metal band that I've talked to so far, right? Anger Overdose, I obviously Eisige Venen, you know, Josh with all his projects Without the Sky and End, and Shovel Monster and Death Pigeon, and like every single one of those bands is completely different from each other. All of them are doing something that they consider to be metal, and nobody seems to be the slightest bit concerned about transgressing around the rules of a subgenre. And I'm so glad for that, because you get stuff then that sounds like Eisige Venen, where you've got tons of synth going, you've got tremolo picking, you've got all this atmosphere, all these orchestral elements, you've got really very Curtis melodic vocals, which is something that I noticed as a singer. I always say this, that I go to lyrics and vocals first. That's my hook into things. And a lot of the time when I have trouble connecting to metal at first, my trouble comes from the fact that I'm not sure what's going on vocally. I can't make out the words. I think metal bands should be legally required to have lyric videos for every single song that they do, so that people like me can figure out what exactly is being said. And I noticed that with Ghosts of Yesterday, and even listening to Baalzaman, you know, just kind of out of curiosity more than anything else, because I figured, hey, if it's, you know, 2/3 of Eisige Venen, I'm sure to like it, and I did. But a different sound, definitely. What I noticed is that I could make out a lot more of the lyrics than I usually can without having them to look at, and that there was more of a melody to your screaming than I am used to hearing in a lot of other places. And that hooked me, because it just felt more familiar to me. You know, I have come to appreciate the Fry screaming, and whether it's the low growls or it's the tenor stuff or whatever, I've come to appreciate that as an expression of emotion and a catharsis and just a really kick-ass fucking element that defines metal, right? Because I mean, for the most part, if you have a metal song, you're probably going to have screaming on it if it's got any vocals. But like, you guys have put together so many elements that I don't hear collected in any of the other bands that I've been listening to. How much of that was what you were doing alone, Mark, and how much of that is influence from Curtis coming back in, Chris coming in, you know, because I know Chris thinks of himself as somebody who doesn't have a specific bass style. You know, it's not Korn, it's not Primus. Like he's, you know, he's coming in and he's figuring out how to serve the song. But like, I feel like they both brought personality into what you were doing. So how much of that was how much of that was true, really? Or you know, kind of how did you guys evolve that particular sound that you have?
Well, I mean, honestly, a lot of this, quite a few of the songs were kind of written before they both came back in.
Okay.
So I think Chris's bass added a more progressive sound to it. It kind of gave it the funkiness it needed.
Yeah, there's a groove coming. Absolutely. Yeah.
And like you said, Curtis's vocals, I mean, you know, he's able to produce those melodies much like, you know, I was actually listening, not to kiss his ass right here in front of everybody, but
Curtis looks ready to receive.
Yeah. He's like, here it comes.
And this will be recorded, so make sure you want what is being said to be said for posterity, because Curtis will have this video available anytime.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between his vocal style and Peter Totkren's and Hypocrisy.
I'll take
it. I was listening to The Fourth Dimension the other day, and I was noticing it, and I was like, man, it's kind of, you know, it kind of sounds like Curtis. And that's, you know, world premiere death metal.
Okay, so Curtis, I'm not going to feign being a Hypocrisy fan or really knowing anything of them, but based on Curtis's reaction to what you said, Mark, this sounds like a very big compliment to me.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Curtis, are you going to take that, or are you going to, you know, Wonder Woman the compliment away, or, you know, I mean, you know, you clearly have a very particular vocal style. Like, were you emulating somebody? Like,
no.
You know, okay.
No, I can only, if I could just change and do all sorts of different things, I mean, I would. If I could do a wide range of clean vocals, of course, I would. I can only do what I can do, you know. But I don't really emulate anybody. I actually, that's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, because I've been told within other bands, like, you need to sound just like the guy from da-da-da-da. This is the way I want, you know.
Okay.
You know, one band say you had to sound just like Lamb of God. We have to, you know. I'm like, no.
They do it better. Already doing that. Yeah. Like, what do you,
they do it better. Let them do that. And then another guy was, you know, we got a Cephalic Carnage. Listen to this. I'm like, I know Cephalic Carnage. I've seen them. You know, well, that's what you need to do. Let him do it. You know, I'll do this.
Well, at that point,
you know?
Why are they hiring Curtis if they don't want what Curtis does? Right. I mean, like, that's the whole point. You know, I mean, I understand if a band wants to go for a particular kind of sound, but there's a difference between being like, hey, you know, Lamb of God, or hey, you know, Hypocrisy. It would be great if we could kind of get that sort of vibe, but make it our own, versus you must sound exactly like this band or that singer or that whatever. And I don't know,
stuff like that is exactly why, you know, there's, you know, 100 bands developed a day and 100 bands that dissolve in a day. You know, it's, you know, things don't work out. And to me, it's easier that we are so spread out, because, you know, I don't feel as bad if it, like, Marc used to live in the same state as me, and I felt bad all the time, because I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't hang out, man. I'm sorry. I got, you know, we got football game and a volleyball game and a basketball game. We got all this stuff going on. I can't, man. I'm sorry, you know, but you know, I don't have, it's easier for me personally. And when you have a big group of guys together in one room, you know, they're going to kind of rub each other raw at some point. And I mean, when you minimize that and like, man, this is getting on my nerves, I'm getting aggravated, but hey, I ain't got to look at this guy or listen to him anymore or whatever it is. Hey, you know, I'll get over it in an hour or tomorrow when I talk to him tomorrow, whatever it is, you know?
Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's one of the positives of being in two different states and a whole other country, I guess, that you guys can be as in touch or not, and as desired and needed, I guess. So, okay. So, and then Chris, you coming in, do you agree with Marc's assessment of your funky ass self coming in and that being kind of what you've added to the band? Is that something that you very intentionally, because I mean, I want to get back to it a little bit too with you, Marc, about how you said that since most of the stuff was written before Chris and Curtis came on, how much of what I'm hearing on Ghosts of Yesterday is just them playing what you had laid out and how much of it is what you guys invented. But Chris, when you walked into this, you know, as the newest member by not that much, like how much of what your path was, there's a dog having a problem. How much of what your path on the bass was laid out for you? How much of that was stuff that you went, I can hear what I need to be doing, and this is where I'm going?
I would say, you know, I came in and there were bass tracks already down, but I like to fill the white space, and not in a way to overpower what's already there, but as a way to complement it. And being in the cover band I've been in, you know, we've been playing a lot of Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Metallica. So I think unintentionally, a lot of those vibes and feelings kind of morphed into what I did for Ghosts of Yesterday. But also in an attempt to not pigeonhole myself into a specific sound. You know, I wanted the bass parts to move around, because when you're dealing with a lot of tremolo picking, the common tendency is to just go along with the guitar and do what they're doing.
Exactly.
And if I'm going to do that, what's the point?
Well, and especially since a lot of the times what Curtis is singing is also doing what the guitar is doing. So all three of you would be occupying the same sonic space, and then there'd be nothing else going on. So I think that's very smart. And I love moving bass lines in a metal band. Like to me, that's a whole, you know, you're bringing in, you know, Motown oldies, you know, like, and it's another piece of what makes you guys different and what makes your sound distinct. So I love that was intentional. That's really cool. So you were, and I guess it sounds like Marc was open to your, you know, maybe changing or adding to what he had at least laid out initially for the bass parts.
Yeah, he never gave me any confines. He just said, here you go. And I would just listen to it again and again and again and again and again and figure out what I wanted to do. And in all honesty, with the exception of A Frigid Emptiness and Death Springs Eternal, I never heard any of these songs with vocals until they were ready for production.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
So I think that's why there's a tendency for me to, I get in a groove and I just stay with it, because I didn't know what was going to be there.
Right. Right.
I could kind of anticipate based on how the song was structured that, okay, there's going to be singing here. But no, that presented its own challenges. But I think the final product, you know, kind of speaks for itself, and I think it worked.
I 1000% agree with you. Okay, so that's very interesting. So Curtis, when you, and I appreciate you on mute for the dogs, but when you recorded your vocals, then you did that at the very end, I'm gathering, or maybe you did it earlier and Chris just didn't get to hear the final product. But at what point did you come in with the vocals? And again, was that something that Marc had laid out? This is what it doesn't sound like it, because Marc, you don't sing, as far as I know, right?
Well, I did all the vocals on the original demos.
Right, but on this album, you're not doing any singing, right? It's all Curtis?
It's all Curtis, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a couple times I laid the vocal parts out, like I sent him
like a scratch vocal or something.
Yeah, like a scratch, like, hey, here's a guide for you.
Okay. Okay.
Stuff like that. But
okay. So when you were recording the vocals, Curtis, did you have Chris's bass in there? I'm assuming. I mean, generally everything is laid down before.
Yeah. Generally, I like to just go last because I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
Yeah. I hear you.
You know, and there was plenty of things that Chris was doing that, you know, I would, you know, just, I don't want to put anything over that. That's amazing. You know, you need to just let that breathe. Let that breathe for a while, you know?
Right.
So that's what I prefer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I think, why don't we take a second here, since we're talking about it so much, to play one of your songs so that everyone who loves you can get the enjoyment right up front. And then the one or two people who maybe don't already have all of the Eisige Venen album merch, whatever, you know, can get introduced. So we're going to play The Night Comes, which I have to say, I think is my favorite song on the album. And that's saying a lot because I love Death Springs Eternal. I love Taken by Winter's Grace. I love all of it, but like there's something about The Night Comes that really, it gets me. I almost want to sing it. Not the way you do, Curtis, because that would be a nightmare for everybody involved, but like it's so well, I'm gonna let you guys discuss it and then we talk about it after. Do you want to say something very quickly before we play it and then we can come back and talk more about it after it's done? Anybody?
Go ahead, Mark.
Nothing other than I hope whoever's listening enjoys it.
Okay, well, there you go. You have your mandate. You have to enjoy it. This is The Night Comes by Eisige Venen. I mean, one of the things that I noticed about the song when I was first listening to it is that, you know, you start out with this kind of shimmer, underwater, kind of very ethereal kind of sound, right? And then the piano comes in and almost what sounded to me a little bit like a Spanish guitar riff, not a Spanish guitar, but like it had all these elements that were very melodic. And then you just start, the vocals, you know, come in with this huge sound. It's very drum heavy. You're mixing up tempos and rhythms, and there's just so much going on. And I kept thinking to myself, if this does not end up in like a trailer for a movie at some point, or like, you know, a big scene in a movie at some point, people are missing out. Like I'm really interested, and I want to back into it this way too, because we haven't talked about it yet, but for this song specifically, and in general, especially if they're different, what is the songwriting process for you guys? I mean, I know for this particular thing, Marc, you've said that a lot of it was done ahead, although you guys were iterating as you came in, Curtis and Chris, but what is the process where you go from I have an idea for a song to, okay, I'm handing it over to the guys, to, okay, we're mixing and mastering and we're done? Like, does it always start with you, Marc? Do you get synth riffs in your head? Do you have a guitar riff in your head? Like, you know, kind of what if you want to use The Night Comes as an example, or however you want to answer that question, I'm really interested how you guys put this all together.
It's a little different for every song.
Okay.
I can say that. So a couple of the songs, which may be more obvious to it, like It's Cold as Snow and A Frigid Emptiness, those were mostly guitar tracks written to synth lines.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then The Night Comes, originally, I think it had a pretty long intro that wasn't the acoustic guitars and the bass. I forgot what that was. Actually, it's been so long. Okay. But the riff, the main riff, the slower one, has been around for quite a while. You know, okay. I've been working with that for the better part of a couple years.
Oh wow, okay. And it didn't find a home until
right. And then
okay. The Night Comes. Okay.
I was just messing with it one night, and the second part, you know, kind of came to me, and started playing that. The synth was written after everything on that song, actually. Okay.
Okay. So, okay. Yeah, because you do have some songs that seem to start, either the song literally starts with synth, or the synth is so prominent that I get the sense that that was what you had first. But right. It's interesting. I don't think I could have necessarily picked out which part you started with on The Night Comes, because everything is so well integrated, and you do showcase all the different instrumentation at different points. So, okay, so that was a guitar. Well, now, when you say, though, that guitar riff that you'd been working with, did you have other parts of The Night Comes down, and then you went, oh, wait, there's that guitar riff that I've been working on? Or did you come back to the riff and then put the rest of the song around it? Because you said the synth was at the very end, right?
I'd come back to the riff and wrote the second part to it.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay. Okay. So that was a guitar song first. What was one of the songs that maybe started with the synth, if you can think off the top of your head?
Taken by Winter's Grace started with synth.
Okay. Okay.
And a lot of times my songwriting process, I'll go into my DAW, and then I'll add drums. So I'll have a drum beat going. And I use that basically as a metronome, and then write riffs to drum beats. And,
that's cool. Okay.
Sometimes I'll add the synth chord progressions to it first, and then like do the rhythm guitars to the drums, and then work on leads.
Okay. So it really does change from song to song pretty drastically, it sounds like. Okay. And so then at what point do Chris and Curtis come in? And Curtis, are you writing lyrics, or are you singing Marc's lyrics, or are you working on them together? How does that work?
On that one, he already had the lyrics done for it.
Okay. Oh, so it depends on the song for that too. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of that whole album he had done, you know. I mean, he had the framework done. He had, all but the trim, you know, and that's, we kind of come in, and Chris, you know, changed the bass beat, you know, the bass around a little bit. And, you know, Marc said, hey, if you might have to change a few words here and there, you know, you put a your own little spin on it.
Okay.
But for the most part, the majority of the album, all except for I think 2 songs, you know, the lyrics were all done for.
Okay. 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 So it sounds like part of the reason that you guys have been a band for like 7 months as a 3-piece, and then you already have the album out and done and dusted, is because a lot of this was almost cut, print, ready to go, you know, before it was even a 3-piece, right? So in that way, it sounds like you guys have managed to take Marc's vision and interpret it, but stay faithful to it, but add your own spin. Am I kind of, is that basically how it turned out?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things that I liked about the album, one of the many things that I liked about the album, is that I feel like a lot of the songs are reminiscent of each other in a refrain, like a guitar riff or a synth riff, or sometimes the synth is echoing something on one song that the guitar was doing on a different song that came before it. And what I loved about that was that it moved me through the album in a way that made me more mindful of what I was hearing. And to be sitting there listening to an album that people had told me might be too scary for me, and going, no, you know, I recognize a lot about this. You know, I think one of the things that gets me is the groove, you know, and you know, when I talked to Shovel Monster, they talked about the fact that they would consider themselves kind of groove metal, although they don't give a shit about genre either. And I wouldn't call you guys groove metal, but your metal definitely has a groove. And, you know, then I've talked to other bands who are like, oh, well, you know, I think of myself as more of an orchestral kind of symphonic sound. And you guys have orchestral and symphonic elements, but you're not an orchestric symphonic metal band. And so I so enjoyed the fact that the album had a cohesiveness to it, where I would almost, there were a couple songs where I went back going, is that the same riff? You know, on Beyond the Veil, is that the same thing as Cold as Snow or what? And I'm like, no, it's not. But they fed into each other. And so I'm kind of wondering, when you were putting this together, Marc, it's a really specific question, but I'm a music nerd and I have to ask it. Did you write the songs in the order in which you put them on the album? Did you order them specifically based on the riffs, the through lines, the melodies, the kind of refrains that were echoed? Or am I just talking out of my ass and you just kind of, was there a story to the album beyond, like an overall story beyond the lyrics within each song telling that story? Because I know there are themes, definitely lyrically, but how about musically? Like, was that something that you were conscious of when you were putting the album together? And what about song order and all of that?
No.
Okay.
No, that was intentional.
Okay. Well done. Well done.
Basically, the song order was due to time constraints, because we wanted it pressed to vinyl. So we wanted both sides to be about equal.
Equal. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
So, yeah, the song order, the only recurring theme, if you look at it from a side A, side B standpoint, is that the third song on both sides has no intro, no synth intro at all.
Oh,
it's the only. So the other 3 songs per side do.
That actually works, because the pattern I thought I recognized was that it almost alternated every third. you know, that it was like, okay, this one starts with synth, this one does, this one doesn't, this one does. So I'm wondering if that's because I listened on Spotify. It was all one album, so I didn't hear the sides, but I bet that's where it broke. Okay. Oh, that's really cool. So is the B-side starting with The Night Comes or taken by Winter's okay. Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. Okay, so it wasn't intentional. And I want to be very clear when I'm saying that there are themes and refrains or whatever. I don't mean that the songs all sound alike, because they really don't. But I liked the fact that there were themes, there were melodies, there were riffs, there were, you know, sonic ideas that recurred but changed from song to song. So, I mean, to get to the second part of my original question is did you have a story in mind? Because I know some metal bands, they've got characters, they have like a whole, you know, like a basically a movie in their head of what they're scoring kind of. Is this, do you feel like there's a story behind it, or is it just from song to song?
Generally, at least the stuff, I mean, of course, the ones Curtis is, the ones he wrote the lyrics for are substantially different. The themes of all my songs tend to revolve around depression and stuff like that.
Loss and grief and separation, that kind of.
So no, there's not an overarching story to anything. It's just song by song, basically.
Okay, but I think it's still. I think someone could put together a story if they wanted to, because they are all kind of linked, as you said. They have similar ideas. The lyrics are conveying similar emotions. So I think that's actually cool, because it gives the person listening freedom to put that in if they want to, or read into that if they want to. So Curtis, which songs did you write the lyrics for specifically then?
Beyond the Veil and Thorns in the Garden.
Okay. And Chris, it sounded like there were a couple songs that you maybe changed more of the bass line on than others, or were you just kind of doing your own thing across the album?
I did my own thing across the album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess with all of this conversation about the album specifically, and the fact that you're all coming at it from slightly different angles, I want to go to the question of, how did each of you get into music in the first place? Like, how did you become musicians? How did you, I mean, Chris, I know a little bit of your story already, obviously, but that's okay. And how did you guys end up in metal specifically? So I don't know, Chris, you haven't talked that much yet. So do you want to take that one first?
Metal is just something that's always resonated with me. I like the intensity of it. I like the feeling that it has. I was pretty insecure growing up, so I guess in some capacity it kind of gave me some feigned sense of confidence. You know, playing sports and stuff like that, it always kind of hyped me up. I was the guy playing deicide in the locker room, so
just getting yourself amped up. Yeah, okay.
Bringing the metal to the masses. But no, it's just something that's always resonated with me.
Okay. And I know you started, you had to beg for a bass on condition of not ever using it to join a band. But for those who haven't already seen the AOD episode, do you want to go over again how you got into music in the first place? Because I liked your story.
Okay. Yeah. So my dad was a musician. His brother is still a musician. A matter of fact, I think his keyboard player, plays with Stevie Wonder. So wow. They've got some pedigree. And I told you in the AOD interview that my dad's band opened for the Amboy Dukes, and back in 67, 68.
Right. Ted Nugent's first outfit. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, I loved music ever since, you know, I can remember listening to old 50s and 60s stuff with my dad, and the Eddie and the Cruiser soundtrack, which if you've never checked out the Eddie and the Cruiser soundtrack, it's absolutely amazing. It's a good soundtrack. It's an awesome movie.
It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
I don't know either, so I'll have to add that to my long list of homework from these interviews. Okay.
Yeah.
Eddie and the Cruisers, noted. Okay, so and that just pulled you right in.
It did. It did. Like I told you in the AOD interview, you know, I grew up on, you know, Michael Jackson and all the other stuff from the 80s. And my older sister was an influence on me. New Kids on the Block.
Right. But then she got a Metallica album that she didn't like.
She hated it. So, you know, I played that tape so much that the tape actually broke. I made my mom listen to that on numerous car trips, you know, up north. So if you're from Michigan, you know what up north is. But, you know, I didn't just stay with metal. Like I said, my older sister had a lot of influence on me, but she was more into, you know, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and all that stuff. So I think a lot of that stuff comes through in my music as well.
Absolutely. All that real rhythm and that all that groove that carries those things. Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. So what I'm hearing is you have your sister's, you know, 90s rap, you know, chronic Snoop Dre, whatever, you know, influence piece. You've got Michael Jackson, who, you know, no slouch when it came to rhythm himself, obviously. And then you've also got all your cover band stuff where you're playing Sabbath and, you know, so that's all informing, plus your 50s and Eddie's and the Cruisers. And so you're just pulling from, I mean, it sounds like a really, you know, weird collection of things. But if I think about at least the ones of them that I know, obviously Eddie and the Cruisers, I'll have to research, but like all of the things that you mentioned, there is a very prominent bass line, whatever it is, they're different from each other, but they're integral to the song and the fact that they're getting you up and making you move and all of that. And they are all more creative with bass rather than just playing straight bass notes here and there. Everybody's moving around more. Everybody's, you know, making it funky, but not overtaking the rest of the music. So I can see where the crisp pie, all the ingredients went into that. I could totally understand that. So I'm telling you, next time I interview you for whatever other band, you know, you're going to be in that I'm going to interview, you have to wear a New Kids on the Block shirt. Because I'm telling you, you have to, just for me. I'll send you one. We'll figure it out. Okay, so that's Chris's origin story. So Curtis, you want to take the same question? How'd you get into music, and then how'd you get into metal specifically?
I bulldozed my way in, kicking and screaming. I mean, I don't know. I could go on for hours on that, but
okay,
I'll try to shorten it down as best I could. Arkansas, country music, Bible Belt, you know, there's not a lot here, especially talking 80s, late 80s, you know, there's not a lot of options. Okay. Small town. I grew up in small town, grew up in the woods, and there was a kid at school who stole his brother's cassette tapes and was selling them for $5 each. And
weird side business, but okay.
But I ended up getting an Alice Cooper tape, and that was the first cassette I ever bought, first piece of music I ever bought. Fell in love with it. It was amazing, and to me at least. And I went from that to there was a guy who had a massive crush on my sister. Like I said, we lived in a Bible Belt. The MTV was not allowed; it was banned from cable. Okay. So it was VH1 and all that stuff. A lot of that stuff we just couldn't get it. There was a guy that would drive out of state to record Headbangers Ball. So I made some sort of deal with him. You know, like I don't know, I would pass a note to my sister or something. Because he said he had an Alice Cooper music video on one of his Headbangers Ball tapes.
Okay.
He let me borrow it. It had Megadeth on it. Blew me away. And then, you know, a couple of weeks later, you know, I got another one. It had King Diamond on it. Blew me away. You know, and, you know, progressed from, you know, to Cannibal Corpse and, you know, Acid Bath and just everywhere. But, the town that I currently still live in, I went to high school in, I was the only metal kid. And I had a couple friends that was like, this is okay. I've got stacks and stacks of old VHS tapes of us making Sepultura music videos, making, you know, where it's just, I'm just got a homemade microphone stand and and I was the singer, and a buddy in the background with a toy guitar.
Yay!
It's stupid. So and then we had our own. It's funny. This guy is actually one of my friend's little brother, and he's my son's football coach right now, and he teaches at the school here. And a picture got out of us when we were teenagers sitting in the back of a dump truck, and he was, and I was the singer, and my other buddy, he had his bass with him, and he was our drummer because he had a baseball glove, like the batting glove. He had a batting glove, so he looked like a drummer. So get over here, you're the drummer, So kids kind of pass that around and joke about it, but I just kind of I met these guys that had a band, somewhat of a metal band locally, and I hung out with them. I inserted myself into what they had going on.
You're the only other 3 people that like this.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I pestered the shit out of this guy. He worked at the movie theater here in town, and I was just bringing stacks of tapes. Dude, you gotta give me something. Bring these back. I need stuff, And he would just hook me up with all these different bands, and he started doing recordings, just recording other bands. Okay. He was really good at it, and he said, "Man, I'm going to go record these guys up in Little Rock one day. You want to come with me?" And I said, "Well, yeah." We were in a rough neighborhood, and in this house, and these guys were. Now, this is, like I said, this is probably 95 era.
Okay.
And these dudes were running around with muumuus on and drunk and throwing beer bottles everywhere. And there was like 12 guys in this dude's living room all playing at the same time. And it was just wild. And I become friends with those guys. And I said, well, I'm going to start a magazine.
Look, and I like them. So
yeah, I was like, well, I would put in, send stuff to Metal Maniacs saying I had a magazine. I'm starting a zine. Send me your demos. And I was just getting demos from everywhere, and I was doing anything I could to be involved in the community, the metal community. And I was promoting, doing, filming bands and doing all kinds of stuff, whatever I could do to just be involved in any way, shape, or form. So it wasn't not going to happen one way or another. I may not be playing music, but
you're in the scene. Yeah.
I'll be standing in the back. I'll help you load that up, whatever, hey, you need I'll help you. I'll make some stickers, or I'll, whatever, Yeah.
And then how did you finally get to start singing for any of these bands? Did it start out with Lost? Was that your first band?
I was in a cover band at the time. And we did Bush cover songs, because that's all I had. That was all that was here. There is that one video we played some county fair, and we won. And I've got a Cradle of Filth t-shirt on, and my hair's down to my belly button, and I'm whipping it everywhere, and I'm playing bass, and I'm and I did not fit at all, And I met this guy Rob, a buddy of mine, that was. He knew a lot of people, and was also kind of in and out of all these bands.
Is this Balsamon Rob?
Yes. Brought him over, introduced me to him, and we become buddies, and we started Lost, and it was just the 2 of us. And he was like, dude, I know this guy. He's a punk rock guy. His name's Marc. He's cool as shit, dude. We got to get him on here. He plays bass. And we would go, and Marc would have 4-track, and I'm making my own album. Like, come on, dude, you got to play bass with us. No. I'm playing punk rock. I'm making my own album. Y'all fuck off, And but he finally did, and we played our first show. I know Marc didn't play that show, but it was in front of a Kroger in our hometown.
Okay.
And we had.
If I recall, nobody played that show.
Me and Rob did. We got through part of one song before they unplugged us.
Oh no! Bad. They shut you down.
Yeah,
they shut you down. Your debut.
Well, they were expecting I
got you. They were not expecting what you brought. Okay.
Yeah, some little country bands. Rob took his shirt off, and he had like electric tape over his nipples. And I grabbed the mic, and I just, and they, we got
welcome to Kroger.
Randy was on the drum machine for that one.
Yeah, too. Yeah, he was our drum machine guy. Yeah, it was but after that, you know, somehow we talked Mark into doing music with us.
Playing nicely with others, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, we did, it wasn't just Balsamon. We had a ton of other goofy side projects. We get frustrated with a song or whatever. You know, we would do this thing called Corpse, which was everybody rotate and grab an instrument you can't play, and and it was a noise grind thing. We just scream and act like idiots, run around. It was so much fun. It was hilarious. We did that in front of a lot of people.
Awesome.
A lot of people, yeah.
Okay.
We had little shows at our house, and we did this even after Balsamon was gone. Once Balsamon kind of disbanded shortly after, everybody kind of went out of state, you know, doing different things. Everybody's gone. Okay. But, you know, once a year or so, they would convene at my house because I was the kind of in between everybody, and we'd get together for a weekend and we would do Warhorse, or, you know, we would just write and record. We get drunk and just record really silly stuff, you know, just have a real good time. So we've always, you know, done something, you know, together.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like you guys are, as long as you're being creative, you're not limiting it to any one thing. I'm telling you, at some point, you're going to have to release on social media this video of Curtis with, you know, his little homemade microphone. And I want to see this now. I think this should be, whenever the next album comes out, maybe that's your teaser video just to get everybody watching. So, all right, Mark, now I'm hearing Mark was into punk rock and making his own album. So punk rock, talk to me. How did you get into music, and what's that all about?
So my first tape I ever bought, I was in the 3rd grade. I got Billy Idol, Vital Idol.
Okay.
So I had the spirit early on, you know, and
the sneer.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
So basically I kept listening to rock and roll, you know, and stuff like that. Guns N' Roses came out about a year later. In high school, I dabbled in death metal a little bit here and there. You know, I had some Carcass, the band Death. I didn't really get into metal as much as I was until I met Rob. I was always into more punk rock.
Right. Okay.
Maybe alternative.
Were you playing instruments at that point, or?
I was trying to play guitar. I wasn't very good at it.
Okay.
My mom wouldn't actually let me have one. So growing up, I wasn't able to do it. I had to learn on my own afterwards. So. Okay.
And so then you knew you were into music, you wanted to be in music, but when did you connect with the synth? Like when was that, when did that really start becoming a thing that you were proficient at, or at least interested in? Because it's not really something I think of with punk rock. So
that had to have been maybe like 10, 15 years ago.
Okay. Was that just out of necessity, or?
Basically, I bought a keyboard, like a cheap Casio, and I just wanted to add layers to the music that I was writing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So,
and then realized you were a synth player at heart, I guess.
Yeah, and then I got more into it. I'm not a good enough synth player to buy. Like, I'm not going to buy a synthesizer and like start twisting knobs.
That's it. That is a commitment on many levels, financial being a big one of them. So yeah,
right.
I hear you. Yeah, that's
so a lot of what you hear on the albums are presets, maybe like some minor tweaking and stuff.
You clearly have an ear for it, though.
Right. I did take a piano class when I was in college, just to get a more basic like knowledge of music theory and what chords go with what, and like what notes are in that chord and how you can make it work and stuff.
All good information to have if you're going to be writing music. Yeah, exactly. So okay. So I know that we have a little bit of a stop that we have to get to. So I want to make sure that we fit in everything. But I mean, I'm just going to fire a couple of questions at you guys quickly. For those who don't know what Eisige Venen means in German, tell them what it means and how did you decide on that as the name for the band? I know that was just you, Mark, at the beginning. So were you just particularly chilly that day, or?
No. So I was a huge World of Warcraft player.
Okay.
I played for a few years, pretty religiously, and Frost Crown and Eisige Venen both come from that game. Frost Crown, Blizzard, from what I hear, they're pretty Sioux happy. So Frost Crown was Ice Crown, which was an area in the game.
Ah, okay.
Eisige Venen is Icy Veins, which is a spell in the game. Okay.
So you picked out little things and then translated them out.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That was clever. Yeah. So Blizzard, leave them alone. No, very cool. Cause and I remember contacting you a long time ago, Mark, because I think I was going to be buying this shirt and I knew somebody was going to ask me and I was like, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, but you guys have it's Eisige Venen, right? But is it more Eisige or Eisige Venen? S or Z? The sound.
A little bit of a Z sound, yeah.
Z, okay, Eisige Venen. Yeah, so I think that's more German anyway. But okay, so, and then you have at least between you and Chris and Mark, you guys have a lot of other things going on. Curtis, you may too, but I'm not aware of it if you do. But so Mark, you have an entirely separate project that I gather is just you. The exoplanet project.
Yeah,
that's just you. Okay, so that I got hooked into via Josh from Without the Sky End Under the Yggdrasil, Rotting Sun Records, because Rotting Sun Records puts out the exoplanet album, and then you Chris, you're kind of all over the place. You've just sort of busted into two other bands kind of this week, or at least announcing it this week. Obviously, for those who watch the Anger Overdose interview, you're joining them as the bass player. And I just at least learned today that you also are playing bass for
Dead Deceased.
Dead Deceased, right? Which I think there's one song out so far, right?
That's all we got.
Yeah, but it's good. It's really good. So make sure that you guys are paying attention to all of the side projects too. Curtis, do you have something else in the works besides football games and volleyball and getting the dog to shut up? Or like, do you have any time for a separate musical project that I don't know about?
He does.
You do?
I do. Well, I do have.
You guys are communicating something quietly to each other. So, okay.
I have one song that I was doing a feature on with Greg Phil.
Yeah,
that's been in the works for a while, but just like everything,
it's good.
Did you really?
I did.
Wow. I just
Curtis
did it
is
last
like,
night.
I haven't heard it.
I told him several months ago, like, hey, yeah, I would love to do a song with you, but you're gonna have to wait. Be patient, because there's there's a lot going on. There's always stuff going on, but I do have other little music things, but it's mainly just for me and a handful of my buddies, kind of a thing.
Okay, gotcha. More casual kind of stuff.
Yeah. I have one where there's a guy. He's a close friend of mine. He's been a friend for forever, and this guy is an amazing cartoon character. I mean, he's ever since we were kids, we would go snake hunting, coyote hunting. We would go out and we weren't going out killing stuff. We would just go, look for it, catch it, play with it, put it back, kind of thing.
Okay.
But this guy, he can work on your car and swap out a motor, and then turn around and pick up a water moccasin, play with it. And, he's amazing. And his name, we call him Dirtbag. It's the most fitting thing ever. Totally. Anytime this guy comes around, he's got a Dollar General store with like 6 Pabst Blue Ribbons in it, and so I have an ungodly amount of stories about that guy. So I just started making, I just started recording albums about just him. And, we got stuff like that. It's never going to be released anywhere because of what it is. But
so you have like a dirtbag anthology of music. That's
okay. Yeah, and what's funny about it, I mean, because they're all kind of making fun of him, but at the same time, like praising him. And but also at the same time, they're kind of a lot of it isn't even about him. It's just stuff that happened that he was there or somehow involved in. So it's just aggravating him and on every level, and it's wonderful, So
it is a spite rock project, I guess.
Yeah, basically
aggravation music. Okay. That is, I can definitely tell you that no one has ever said any collection of words to me that came together to mean anything remotely like what you just said, but I absolutely love the concept. Like that is, there's this guy that is just almost like a mythological character in himself. And you're just creating more mythology around him. And I love that. So, okay. So there's that. And then there's more likely to be heard in the future, the Greg Filth collab that you've got going. So we're talking about Exoplanet. We're talking about Greg Filth. This leads, all roads do eventually to Rotting Sun Records, right? And Josh. And so, Marc, I know you have some news around Rotting Sun, and I know you also have some other news around just, production, release, and that kind of stuff. Did you want to let everybody in on that?
Yeah. So we will be joining forces with Rotting Sun pretty much now. If you're watching this, it's already happened, I'm sure.
It's happened, yeah. So can you get into a little bit?
Basically, our albums, the physical copies will now have the Rotting Sun logo on them. So they'll be officially through Rotting Sun.
That's awesome.
And then we also have through Vita Detestabilis.
Yes.
Say it right?
Vita Detestabilis. Yes. The detestable life in Latin. This is a Spanish label from what
Spanish tape label. Yeah.
Okay.
And they
also do vinyl, you said, right?
They do. They do vinyl. I don't know.
Guys, this is big news. Listen, what Marc is going to say here.
We're getting a 50 tape run in Europe. And they're going to send us 15 copies to sell here in the U.S. as well.
That is so awesome. And that's happening next month, right?
Yeah. They will announce, they will have already announced it when this airs.
Okay.
But it'll be in August.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. So Chris Curtis, were you all involved in the decision to move to Rotting Sun and to get Vita Detestabilis involved with your European release? Because you guys are you're in multiple countries here. You're like a whole force of nature. So was that news? Were you all part of the process of that, or is that kind of Marc going, "Hey, what if we do this?" And you guys are like, "Yeah."
B.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of the messages that get sent, and there's mountains of, "Hey, give me money and I can take it."
Hey, fam. Fam, do you want music promotion? Hey fam, I can make you. Yeah, and it's just like, shut up. Yeah.
But I mean, basically, they were in the talks with Marc, and then he'd come to us, and along with any other offers, or there's a lot of different things that people would either ask for, offer, or whatever. He always we go back and forth about it.
Yeah, no, but Josh, I mean, what he's doing with Rotting Sun Records is so great, because when I interviewed him, he was talking about how he's not looking to just grab a bunch of people and sign a bunch of people and have this massive, ever-growing label. He's really looking for like-minded musicians and, people that are on his wavelength and not even necessarily doing the same kind of music that he does, which is a couple of different kinds of things, whether it's dungeon synth or his, more black metal stuff. But I mean, I knew he was working with you, Marc, for Exoplanet. And I almost asked him if there was any chance. And so I think some of what he was alluding to, I think we're getting confirmed today, but he kept it under his non-existent hat. But I think it makes so much sense to me that you guys are going to be on that label, because it suits everything about you guys as a band, the aesthetics, the visual, just the fact of being on cassette, you know, the underground kind of vibe to it. Somebody who gives a shit about the music and the bands that he's working with. And, you know, it's done intentionally, it's done meaningfully. I think it's a perfect marriage. And this, you know, Vita Destabilis thing in Europe is amazing like that. I mean, you must be thrilled, the three of you, for that.
Yeah,
sure.
That's
huge.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
I'm very excited for that.
I mean, you know, it doesn't surprise me because, you know, music being kind of a universal thing to some degree. And then you guys do have all of these kind of not European influences, but I mean, the name is German. You've got this very sort of cinematic thing. You've got all this instrumentation that could fit pretty much anywhere. I'm not surprised, especially considering it's just such a great album. And is this something now that, you know, now that Ghosts of Yesterday is done and out and you guys are officially really together, I know you have what is it? Tenebris, what's the name? There you have a new single coming out pretty soon, right?
Yeah, Tenebris Intus.
Intus, right. Okay. So that's soon, right? That may have even come out by the time this airs at the end of July, right? Is it
we're shooting, it should not be out by the time this airs. It should be a couple days after this airs.
Okay, even better. Even better. All right, so talk it up here. Let's give the people that they're, because they won't have too long to wait by the time this airs.
Right. It's coming. That'll be our first official release with Rotting Sun.
Okay.
So that while they did the album on cassette and stuff like that, this is actually, I'm handing the reins over to Josh. Very cool. For this. But yeah, there's going to be some elements in it that are going to be unfamiliar to the fans. So it'll be something new.
Okay.
Very exciting, actually.
Okay. And was this something that more the three of you created together? Like, is this a song that has been kicking around for a couple years, like pre-Curtis, pre-Chris, or is this a new?
This is new. This was written since we've all been together. Okay.
So Chris and Curtis, did you guys have more initial input rather than, you know, coming in and going later, all right, this is what I'm going to do instead? Or, you know, did the three of you write it together is basically what I'm asking.
As I said in the Anger Overdose interview, I am not a songwriter by any stretch of the imagination.
I believe what you said was, if I were responsible for the songwriting in a band, we would never have any songs. So you were pretty definitive about that. Yeah.
100%. But I've been more vocal with this one. Because I didn't really have any say in the first album, you know, because everything happened so fast. And with this, I think we kind of wanted to take a step back and make sure we did it right. And it's very different from the first album. I think it's a little more progressive. I actually even did a little bit of keyboard work.
Really? Really? Okay.
So, some synth elements.
Chris is like a very, very, very little bit. Okay. Yeah. Curtis, were you playing the banjo or anything else? Or are we talking this different?
No, I once we had once the album come out, I had, I'm just now getting off this span. We have this group. We do this kayaking stuff every year with these groups of kids and all these, you know, all kinds of stuff going on. And that just takes up about 2.5 months, you know. As soon as school lets out for the kids, we're booked. And I thought we were like going to take we're done for a little while. And
nope.
I don't know. It was like a week later, Mark was like, hey, here's this. We're doing this. Don't even, don't. So I really didn't do a lot on this song either.
You just weren't around. Yeah. Okay.
I haven't been around.
Okay. You were on a kayak somewhere, just floating around. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, I will not pry, but I am very intrigued about the descriptions that you guys have given, that it's very different. I'm hearing more progressive. I'm hearing more input from Chris, and at least we don't have very long to wait. So I will be patient, but I'm excited for this. And is this the first song of what will be the next album? Is this just going to be a standalone single? Does it depend on what comes next? What is next musically for Eisige Venen?
That's a really good question.
Thank you. I wrote it myself just now off the top of my head.
We actually talked about that, and you know, releasing singles seems to be, at least in the near future, the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, unless you have an album ready to go, people are waiting and waiting. And yeah. So, okay.
And it hadn't even been a year since the album came out. So
no, you have time.
No rush.
Time. Yeah. Okay. But so is there something coming once Tenebris Intus is out in, you know, a couple of weeks, well, you know, a couple of days after this airs? Do you have something else already on the fire? Well, or are you guys?
We will be featured in The Sorrow, which is a web series on YouTube.
Okay. Sorry, when you said that, a dot just connected for me that I'm not going to say, but okay. Okay. Very cool.
So we'll be featured in that.
Excellent.
So that's coming up. Other than that, we've actually been kind of throwing around the concept of doing a cover song, trying to make it an Eisige Venen way.
Okay.
I don't know. We had one song.
I was going to ask if you had picked one. Okay.
It just, I don't know, something about it just didn't. I was too happy.
Might I suggest humbly, as a fan of Eisige Venen, Peaches from the Super Mario Brothers movie?
I don't know that song.
Don't go look it up. You'll never.
You just heard all the lyrics.
I was gonna say Curtis knows it. I know you have kids in that. I know you know it, but for the two, if Chris, if you don't know it, and Mark, if you don't know it, you really will never speak to me again. Don't look it up. It's horrible. It's a Jack Black as Bowser song. That's pretty much all I think you need to say. And literally 90% of the song is just him going peaches, peaches, peaches. But I would kind of love just, you know, peaches. Curtis, I think you could really do something with that. No? All right. If not, maybe Barbie Girl. I'm spitballing, you know, I am a cover band artist. I know this music very well. I think those two would suit. No, absolutely not. But do you even have bands that you're thinking of doing, or you're just totally like, the idea is to do a cover of something, but you really don't know what you want to do yet?
I think B. Yeah.
Okay. Option B seems to be popular when I say things. So, okay. Again, I'm mindful of the time. I also want to just mention, you know, you guys have a lot of merch. And you know, if people want to go and grab it, what is the best way for them to do that?
Our Bandcamp page right now is the best way. It has everything that we offer.
Yeah. That's where I got this one, guys. So, and it came pretty quickly too. So very comfortable, very high quality. Washes and wears well. I'm not getting any money for saying this. I'm just a fan of the shirt that I'm wearing. And so you guys are okay. So just to kind of collect everything, because I know that Curtis especially has to get going. So Ghosts of Yesterday, largely a Marc brainchild. Curtis, you and Chris putting your spin on things, and with the new single Tenebris Intus, you are really, Chris especially, a lot more input. This is coming out early August, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, sure. That's the goal. That's the hope. And if not, guys, watching soon after that. So just keep an eye on Eisige Venen's page, and you will know the second that it comes out. Maybe there's even going to be a pre-save that you can do. We'll see. You know, great news about fully partnering with Rotting Sun Records. We love Josh here, so I'm so glad to have two factions that I love so much fully merging with each other. And then you do have this Vita Destabilis, we are not sure we're saying that correctly. Sorry, Spain, but this this European release that you're doing, that I think we're talking August 25th for that. And then maybe a cover song coming up in the works, and new music coming out, singles. So have I missed anything? Was there anything else that you guys wanted to throw in there before we get to our last couple of questions? Do you want to revisit the hot dog cheeseburger sandwich debacle from the beginning? I think we've covered a lot of ground, right? And again, I will come out and say definitively, to those of you, I don't even remember who it was, who thought that, you know, Eisige Venen would be too tough for me. It was not. And I end up saying this a lot, and I hope that people understand that my repeating it to different bands is not me just saying something to say something. It's because thankfully it's been true that, you know, coming from the kind of music that I usually sing, play, listen to, whatever, nothing like what you guys are doing. And I really enjoy what you guys are doing. I really liked Ghost of Yesterday. I really, I found it engaging on a bunch of different levels. It ironically soothed me in parts, which thanks to Curtis might not have been true. But even with the metal vocals in there, I found myself just really kind of locking in and closing my eyes and enjoying it, and just picturing all kinds of stuff. Just as I said, very cinematic. So for anyone who does not already have the pleasure of having listened to Ghosts of Yesterday, go listen to it. They're everywhere. Spotify is a really good place to find them. Facebook, Bandcamp, all of that. And just, you know, thank you guys for making an awesome album. And I'm so glad that the three of you are, you know, I'm glad that you're off the kayak, Curtis. So going forward, you can have more input into things. But I just think this marriage of melodic screaming and moving bass, and Marc with just the everything else, I can only see really great things coming out of this. And I think the more input all three of you have into these songs, I think that just even the stronger and the better the band is going to get. So, yeah. So thank you for making really good music is basically what I'm trying to say in my long-winded fashion. So
thank you so much.
Oh no, yeah. You're very welcome. I'm telling you, I don't buy shirts. I have so many bands that I am really wanting to have shirts for and rep and all of this other stuff. And it's just, you know, shirts are expensive. They're expensive to make. They're expensive to produce. They're expensive to mail. So they're expensive to buy. Not that this was crazy, guys. Go buy it anyway. It was, you know, but I mean, I wouldn't wear it if I didn't love the band. I wouldn't. So, so it's absolutely my pleasure to get to say that. But so, as you, I know Chris knows this too well, but as we end every episode with a little segment we like to call In the Vox Seat. So I am going to ask you guys 5 questions. It's the same 5 questions I've asked everybody who's been on the show. Chris has already answered them. So Chris, I don't know exactly how we're going to do this. If you want to come up with different answers, I'll even give you a pass on that. But the first question is for all 3 of you. If you had to sum up Eisige Venen's music in 5 words or less, what would you say?
Melancholic, depressive, atmospheric, melodic. Did I say that?
You said melancholic.
Oh yeah.
Depressive, atmospheric, melodic, and
heavy.
Heavy. Okay. Heavy or extreme. Okay, good. Okay, I like this. This is good. Who's next?
I'll go next if you need more time, Curtis.
Chris, are you going to say the same thing you said for AOD? Because
nope.
Every band I do for you, you're just going to come up with the same 5 words.
Industrial, groovy. No.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I would say dark, dramatic, depressive, winter, and relatable.
Ooh.
Nice.
Okay, those last 2. I'm going to pull out those last 2 for a minute there. Winter, I guess, because of the theme, the vibe, or why winter?
Because it fits winter. It's cold, it's isolated, and it's just, and it kind of leads me into relatable because the feelings that the album invokes, I mean, we've all been there at some point.
Exactly. Exactly. Those are, I mean, all of them were good, but those last two are great. And I think maybe Relatable Winter should be the title of your next album. Who knows? You never know. It could work. That or Peaches, either way. But okay, Curtis, this is you. 5 words. You're allowed to reuse words if you want. Or
yeah, I'm gonna have to. I mean,
you're like, I was like, Poppy, really?
We all happy? Have to come? Yeah. No.
Yeah, you really I mean, because everybody's a little bit different. So I'm sure you're gonna have different things to say.
And that's my first description is different.
Okay.
Just different, melodic, dark, and Jesus, I don't know, man. Heavy.
Okay. You don't have to use all 5.
Yeah. I'll stop at 4 because I mean, they both did such a good job. I can't. It's hard to really add. You can't add a lot to.
That's okay. It's not the SAT, but I also like that you said different because it's true. You know, and I would agree with that 100%. And I think to have metal that is different and relatable is no small feat. So I'm glad that all 3 of you answered because you all agreed with each other, but you pulled out little different pieces of it. So, okay. Your favorite thing about being a musician?
Just having a creative outlet. I mean, just creating. Because no matter what, if you know, public or non-public, you know, I'm still going to do something. Yeah. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna be just for myself to listen to, or, you know, give to my buddy or whatever. Just a creative outlet really is all there is to it.
Well, I mean, you have one of the most inspiring types of how'd you get into music answers that I've heard. You know, this idea of just you were willing to basically clean bathrooms in musicians, you know, venues or whatever, just to be around it and to love the music that much and to be that invested in being a part of the scene that you were even willing to just be adjacent to it. And that makes me so happy for you that you get to create the way that you do, especially with the talent that you have. Because I mean, I say it all the time when I talk to metal vocalists that, you know, as somebody who's, you know, blown out vocal cords singing Alanis Morissette, like I look at what you guys do and I'm like, how the fuck do they do that? And I know there's technique and I know the vowels and the shape of the mouth and the fry and I know all that, but it is a lot of work to get it to happen, period. And then to make your vocals as melodic as we've been discussing that they are, you clearly found the right thing. You were banging down the right door. So I'm just happy for you that you have that outlet, Curtis, because you needed it. And then now we all get to benefit from it, too, because we get to listen to you. So, OK, Mark, Chris, I know you've answered this question. Chris, are you thinking of a different answer? Do you have a new favorite thing in the last 2 weeks of being a musician? OK, here we go.
I do.
OK, good.
For me, it gives me a sense of purpose. It gives me something to do. And up until recently, I never had the capacity to actually record anything. So it was me, myself, and I and my guitar playing in my room. And I've been in Korea for 3 years now. And for 2 of those 3, I would basically work and come home and go to sleep.
Yeah.
So, you know, being in the cover band and then hopping onto Eisige Venen and on down the litany of other things I'm working on.
Yeah.
It's really given me a new outlook on life, and it's given me a new sense of purpose.
So purpose and permanence, I think, was the thing that you referenced in the AOD interview, that, you know, you've made things now that don't go anywhere. You know, they exist. You've put them into the world. You've added something to the world. You've added value to the world, and you've kind of made your mark in it, and you're going to continue to do that. And again, you're another one that clearly is doing what he was meant to do. So I think to find purpose in something that is a perfect fit for you is great, because I know so many people who want to be something, but they don't have the ability to do that. You know, it's like Salieri watching Mozart and being like, oh, you know, I want to be able to do that and I can't. And so not that I'm calling you either Salieri or Mozart, because that would be weird, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, what you find purpose in is something that you do incredibly well. So All right, cool. I like that. And you had to come up with 2 answers. So Mark, this is the first time you're being asked. This should be easy peasy for you.
Yeah, it's the women.
We're going to see a shoe fly from off camera in 3, 2. Wait, okay. All right. So the women, and by that you mean the deep emotional resonance of, yeah.
No, but for real, it's for me that it's so satisfying to do it. I don't know. It's just, it's hard to explain, you know, it's hearing a riff in your head and playing it on guitar, or, you know, dicking around on guitar and like coming up with a great riff, you know, it's just,
it just falls out of you. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's so much fun. And so
no, so I see what you like. You just seem to even like the whole process of it.
Right. Know? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense because you are clearly the way that you build your songs and your album. You are, and I don't know how much creative control you had in Balsamon, but like you are very, you do seem process oriented, you know, because you've got a lot at play on all of your songs. You've got lots of layers, you've got lots of elements, you've got stuff that's, I hear, way faded back, but it matters to the song. And I don't think you could be that patient in songwriting or producing or anything like that if you didn't love the process, because we all know what a slog it can be to get the thing from here to here, and how long it can take, although not not in your case. But okay, cool. All right, those are 3 very good answers. Now there's the flip side of it, which is, what is your least favorite thing about being a musician? Mark, you can also say women here if you want. They're always bothering me, and I love the person that's right next to me, so I'm never yeah. So I don't know who wants to take this first, and I don't know, Chris, if you can come up with another least favorite thing.
We're gonna reverse the order. I'll start.
Okay, look at that.
It's and I don't want to sound like a crybaby, but it's a lot of effort for little return.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
no, I don't. I think rather than cry baby, I think every musician watching this who heard what you just said is like, fuck yes. I know I feel that way. So yeah, you mean from other people? Because I imagine you yourself are satisfied with what you've done, but you know, the little in return is just, you know, so many people have talked about that. You work your ass off on something and you put it out there, and for whatever reason, just crickets, you know.
Right. Okay. And whether it be sales or streams, it doesn't really matter, you know. It's and actually, you know, to be honest, we've done better than I thought we would. You know, and it's not saying we've done great, but you know, it's just between promotion and all that, I mean, it can take 7 or 8 hours a day.
Oh yeah, it's a full-time job. Absolutely.
And then you have your full-time job you have to do, and then
exactly. Well, and it's interesting to me too, because everybody that I talk to in the indie community, even not just the metal part of the indie community, everybody seems to be super fond of Eisige Venen. Like everybody that I mention it to, they've all got the shirts, they've all got what, you know what I mean? And so what I think is frustrating for a lot of people is that, you know, people are listening, people are interested, people like it, but it doesn't necessarily show up in the numbers. And like, I mean, I'm a different entity because as a cover band, but like my concern for numbers are things like, how does this show do on YouTube? How does this show do on Spotify? Because the more people who are listening and watching the show, the more you guys are getting out there, which is the whole point of the show, right? So when I start to look at those things and go, oh, you know, is this episode not doing as well as this episode? And how can we, you know, I want everybody to get the same amount of sunlight, right? And it can make you nuts. And it's something that we're creating, Greg and I, this show, but it's not an album. It's not a song. It's not and I know just as a musician how that feels. You know, you write an original and you go out on stage and you play it and people look at you like you just, you know, killed a puppy or something, or like they all leave and go to the bathroom, and it sucks. So you don't sound like a crybaby. I don't think there's a single musician watching this who won't be able to relate to what you just said, but you must love it enough to do it anyway.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's what I do, you know, and I've often thought about that, you know, and some people define themselves by their work, you know, and they'll be like, well, hey, what do you do? Well, I'm an electrician, you know. No, I didn't ask you what you did for work. Right. I asked you, who are you?
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm trying to become more comfortable to where I could tell people that, well, I'm a musician.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I make money off of it or not, you know. It's not their business. And my day job is what I have to do so I can do this.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's your job and there's your passion. And yeah. No, that's great. And it's true. I love that, you know, no, not what's your job. What do you do that makes you you? I love that. Well, I'm glad that you persist. I have the feeling that you will see the reception for things that are coming next to be a lot better, because now that everybody's kind of found each other, you know, now this is, you know, everything going forward, you've got a big fan base coming behind it. And I know everybody watching is going to, you know, support the crap out of them. Right, guys? So, okay. So I think if we were reversing the order, are we going to Curtis now?
Chris.
Least favorite thing about Chris. Okay. Least favorite thing about being a musician. Whoever wants to take it, really.
All right. So my last answer was the work-life balance. So I'll come up with something different this time. And I think it's overcoming insecurities. You know, you watch stuff on, you know, these YouTube shorts and Facebook clips, and, you know, you got a 5-year-old out there just doing crazy things. You know, you're just like, I hate you. And, you know, I've always struggled with self-confidence, you know. So there's always that question: if I put something out there, is this good enough? And in a positive way, it makes me strive to do better continuously. But there's always that shadow of doubt in the back of your mind that just, you're not good enough. So, you know, the bands that take a chance on me, I really appreciate that. And I would follow Marc to the fucking depths of hell, because I love you.
Yeah. Well, they know what they've got. There's a reason all these bands want you, Chris. So I think, you know, people will say that, you know, you're your own worst critic, and it's always true. But, you know, we can all hear the stuff that maybe you can't. So I'm not surprised that you're in such high demand. But I love that you and Marc have a brotherhood like that, where hopefully he will not literally drag you to the depths of hell. But Marc, if you need to make like a grocery run there or whatever, you know that Chris will Uber you or whatever. So all right, Curtis, you've had time. Least favorite thing, is it having to get off the kayak, or is there something else?
You just said it's the time. I mean, there is in order to, you know, really be involved in anything, you have to, you know, be able to sacrifice time and to spend and be involved. There's so much that Marc does. I mean, he does a lot. I mean, promotion, writing, and he does a massive amount. And, you know, I'm just, oh man, I'm at a basketball game, and I'm working right now. I got this, I got that going on, man. I got to go to, I got, you know, and like, I just, you know, it sucks. And that's not Eisige Venen. That's just, it's every band. It's every band, that the amount of time that you have to put into it. Yeah. It's I mean, I love it, you know, and I'm going to have something to do with music regardless, you know, but I just it's hard, you know, being able, and you know, we're not kids anymore. Time moves differently, you know.
Yeah,
what used to, you know, man, you know, 2 weeks is forever, and 2 weeks is a nap. You know, right, exactly. it's unreal. Like, dude, man, I'm sorry I haven't responded in 3 weeks, dude. I thought it was yesterday. Shit, dude. You know, it's just
true. It's true. It's true. No, and I think something like music that is a passion for people is not meant to be a side project. So I know exactly what you mean. It's like, how do you make time to do the thing that you're meant to be doing all the time. You know, it's like you're stealing your life back from the other things that have occupied it. So yeah, very frustrating.
It's a massive amount of dedication. And that blankets both statements that they made, you know, that what you put in, you're not getting back no matter what it is.
Right.
You know, I might spend, you know, 6 hours, you know, just trying to make this one little part sound right. I don't like this, you know.
Right.
And nobody's ever going to notice, probably.
Right. Except for you and Mark and Chris and
yeah.
Maybe me at this point, be like, that doesn't sound like Curtis. But yeah, I know what you mean, but it still has to be right.
Yeah, and with different projects I've done over the years with different people, you know, one real common thing is like, man, you know, you don't have to enunciate it. You know, you don't have to do it like this. You know, the words don't have to be exactly the words. Nobody can understand what you're saying anyway. Like, but I'll know. You know,
that's right.
Nobody else is gonna know, but I'll know. So
that's right.
You know, it goes right in with both of them. You know, what exactly what they said.
No, and I think that's an elemental feature of all three of you, that even if nobody else ever heard the thing, it would have to be what your vision for your song, your part, your lyric, your melody, your bass line, your whatever was, or it's not going to be done for you. And I think that's why everything sounds so good, because you're all coming at it from different places, but you have the same work ethic and passion around what you're doing. And it shows up in the music. It does, because I mean, you put on Eisige Venen, and from the second Along a Barren Shore comes out and opens that album up, you know, you're in crafted hands. It's not haphazard. It's not accidental. It's not thoughtless. It's not just, hey, scream whatever the fuck you want because nobody's paying attention. No, you're saying something. I was so grateful to you that I could make out your lyrics, as I said, you know, and that there was a melody line to them, even with screaming. So I see that in all of you. You know, it's not about perfectionism. It's about getting what's in your head out into the world as closely resembling each other as possible. And like the fact that you guys take the time to do that and then manage to do it so fucking fast is really impressive. So again, that's one of the many reasons I'm excited to see what comes next. But okay. All right, Chris, I don't know again what you're going to do here, but fourth question. If you had to pick just one album to listen to for the rest of your life, it's the only album you get, what album would you pick and why? And Chris, I will give you can take a different one too if you want. So I don't know who wants to answer this one first, but nobody likes this question, but we always get good answers.
I know mine.
Okay. Mine. Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
Mine would be Smashing Pumpkins' Adore.
Really? Okay, tell me why.
It's my favorite album of all time.
But like, tell me why.
It's perfection. Like I think it took all of the sad elements of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness and expanded on those. I think it's a very personal album. It's something I strive to reproduce one day.
Okay. I can see that, having listened to Eisige Venen as closely as I have. Not that it sounds like Smashing Pumpkins, but I can completely pick out elements of things where I could go, yeah, right. I could see where that turns Mark on. Okay. All right. Very cool. Not necessarily what I would have expected, but a very good answer. And Curtis, you said you know yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Acid Bath When the Kite Stream Pops. I mean, that album to me, front to back, is absolutely flawless. And I've never heard even their follow-up was amazing.
Okay.
But when I caught wind of that thing, first time I heard it, I hated it. This is stupid. I was listening to like Cannibal Corpse and, you know, death metal. And it's like, oh man, this is this death metal band. And this guy left it at my house. It just come out. And I listened to it. I was like, man, this sucks. And I threw it down. About 2 weeks later, picked it up and listened to it front to back. And it's just amazing to me, because it does kind of resemble a little bit of what we're doing here, not necessarily sonically.
Okay.
But these are all totally different guys that they're all from Louisiana and all that, but they obviously listen to very different things, and you throw them in there together, and the sound that they come up with and everything about it was just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds like Eisige Venen to me. Yeah. That's a good description. So, okay. I don't know the band. I don't know the album. I will have to. Acid Bath is the band.
Yes.
Okay. All right. More homework. Okay. All
yes.
Right.
You need to check that one out.
Okay. And I might hate it the first time, but give it another chance. If
Probably not. No. I mean, I don't know.
You were hungry or something when you listened to it the first time.
Yeah. I mean, you never know where you are mentally whenever you hear something. It's not what you expect. You're not, you're going to hate it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sometimes
I do that
it's just
with
a
everything.
mismatch. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I can be that way too. Look at the professor over here, just thinking, pontificating, pondering, weighing. All right, Christopher, out with it.
All right,
it's
so
not
the
New
easy
Kids
answer.
on the Block, right?
No.
I'm pushing that one. I really am.
I guess that'd be a close fourth this time. I'm struggling with 3.
Okay.
So the easy answer is anything with Cliff Burton, because I could listen to that all day, every day.
Sure.
Now I was struggling between keeping with the theme, Eddie and the Cruisers soundtrack.
Okay. You like it that much, huh? Okay.
I do. It was the whole album was written by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band or something.
Okay.
But the premise of the movie, I mean, this guy writes this timeless album back in the 60s that's so far ahead of its time. But the music is absolutely phenomenal. It's an epic movie, and you need to see it.
It sounds really interesting based on that. Okay. Yeah, I will totally stream that. Okay.
So I was going back and forth between that and Enya's Watermark, which is probably going to take people by surprise.
You know what? I'm giving you both just for that, because I love that I'm trying to remember which Metallica album you
Kill 'Em All.
Kill 'Em All, right? Okay. So between Kill 'Em All, Eddie and the Cruisers, and Enya's Watermark, I feel like all 3 of those together are a more interesting answer than any one of them individually. So why Enya? Not that I actually like Enya, but why Enya for you?
I couldn't tell you. It just puts me in a good place, I guess. It's just, it doesn't matter what mood I'm in. It just brings me back to center.
Okay.
And I've always had an affinity for Enya ever since the infomercials where she was singing Sail Away back in the 90s. But I would say that my album that I would pick if I had to listen to one thing for the rest of my life would be Typo Negative's World Coming Down.
Typo Negative, a big favorite of people on the show. I know JD from Death Pigeon is huge influence. So is this Pete Steele?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is or is it the whole band that's doing it for you with Typo Negative?
It's the whole band.
Because I know Pete is like a god, but you like the whole band.
I love the whole band. Kenny, Josh, all of them.
Okay.
But World Coming Down has just taken me out of really dark places time and time and time again. And I think it's because it's so sad. It's so depressive that no matter where you're at in that headspace and timing, that it's just like, fuck, life could still be worse. At least I'm not going through what that guy's going through.
And I think also because they are so vocal and open about mental health struggles and all of just the darkness and the suicidal ideations and attempts and, just not even wanting to be on the planet anymore. I think even if it doesn't make you feel better by comparison, you don't feel alone in feeling any of that too, which I think is one of the beautiful things about music, right? Is that it no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, there's going to be someone else out there that put what you're feeling, down as a song, and you can go in there and go, okay, here's my anchor. So I love that. I love that you had 3 and then you're like, but the one I would pick is this 4th one here. But these are all great. I'm going to have to listen to Eddie and the Cruisers and watch it now too. But Chris, I'm impressed. You answered the question differently twice. And you came up with 5 answers. So my hat's off to you. If I had one, I should get a hat just so I can take it off. Okay. Last question. Chris knows what it is. This is the one. So far, we have all but 2 people have given the same answer to this question. Okay. And I know that there are people watching who are deeply concerned right now that one of you is going to give what they consider to be the wrong answer, which is the minority answer so far. But I'm going to ask this for all 3 of you. Okay. Your toilet paper roll. Does the toilet paper come down from over the top, or do you pull it out from underneath, and why? Chris, you can't go first.
It goes over the top.
Okay.
The reason being is the original design of the toilet paper. It's designed to roll down, just like when you load paper towels into a machine, it rolls towards you.
Okay, you're one of the patent purists. Okay, over the top. All right, Curtis?
Man, if I see a roll of toilet paper that's in the thing, or like in the holder, I mean, I'm happy. You know, I haven't seen one inside there in like, I don't know, 15 years or better. You know, yeah. I mean, I don't care. I know where it's going. I don't give a shit what way it looks at me. You know.
Oh man, no. Dom from Jamsteak had a whole thing about the quilting being on the outside versus the inside. We've heard JD from Death Pigeon talking about there might be bugs crawling on the wall that end up on the toilet pit. People have
got bigger problems.
You are just happy if it's on the holder. So are you more of a just on the counter household, or are you one of those sitting on top of the holder households? Windowsill?
In the adult's bathroom, my wife's bathroom, it's in a holder. I don't pay attention to which way it's facing.
See now, but tonight when you go to bed, you will look.
No, I mean,
I really don't
make the same argument, and I'm like, oh, yeah. But I mean, my wife would make the argument easily. You know, no, it's like this.
Your wife will tell you what the right answer is. That's okay. By proxy, I'm sure you have a preference. You just don't know what it is yet. So okay, so we have 2 for over, and Chris, I'm assuming your stance has not changed.
It has not. It's under is just uncivilized. I don't understand that. Why someone would do that? It's borderline sacrilege. But in my current circumstances, because my toilet paper dispenser, whatever, is so ill placed, I'm not even messing with it. It goes on the back of the toilet.
They do. There are some people who build places that are just sadistic, where it's like all the way over here, it's behind you somehow. And I think there's the only thing I will say is that I know that, again, Dom from Jamsteak, one of the main reasons, although he says it is a stated preference, is if you have cats, you have to put it under, or they will just be assholes like they are and just fuck up the whole thing if it's over the top. But do those people get a pass for being less than uncivilized? You're like, no.
I'd say yes. Or kids. Okay. Kids do that too.
Okay, so if any sort of small creature is going to be fucking with your toilet paper, then under is okay. Otherwise, you are an uncivilized savage and nobody wants to talk to you if you're Chris. Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. So there we go. The whole band is in agreement. Yet again, a meeting of the minds. Guys, I really I'm so glad you came on this show. I was hoping that you would be able to come on early, because I really wanted to get to meet and talk to all of you and just tell you how much I appreciate the album and the music. I'm really excited for the new single. And thankfully, I know it's not too long to wait. And just to see what you guys are doing next. Congratulations on partnering up officially with Rotting Sun. Big congratulations on the European run. That is tremendous, tremendous, and so well deserved. And just please keep doing what you're doing. Do more of it. Do more of it, that the 3 of you are meeting up as minds and all putting your own stamp on it, because it's just going to keep fucking rocking. So thank you so much for being on this show.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for waking up early again for me, Chris. Go back to sleep now.
Well, Marc had to call me and wake me up.
Yeah, I know. We were sitting here going, okay, the phone's ringing. It's early enough there. You still get a pass. So, all right, guys, This is it. Another episode of Voxandstix in the books. Eisige Venen. Go listen to them. Seriously, you will not be disappointed if you haven't already. And thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.